Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. The focus of my today's video is gonna be meta advertising. So many of you guys who are not quite familiar with how to run advertising campaigns within Facebook and Instagram using Meta Ads Manager. This video is gonna be really helpful for you. It's gonna be up to date and really cutting edge in the sense that we are into 2026 and there are many updated settings and techniques and options that you might not find in some old videos. In that sense, this video is going to be really helpful. I'm going to walk you through all the important steps, beginning with setting up your business manager account, Meta Business Manager account, and then doing all the necessary initial setup configurations within your business manager account, and then going on to setting up your ads manager account and setting up new campaigns, ad sets, and ads, and walking you through all the necessary settings and configurations. And of course, from the perspective of launching a campaign, what are the important options, are important optimization techniques you need to keep in mind for you to run a fairly successful campaign right from the get-go, even if you're not quite familiar with how the advertising system works, as far as Facebook and Instagram advertising is concerned. So this video is going to be really helpful for you, plus it's going to supply you with enough information for you to be able to optimize your campaigns in a way that's profitable for your business. So without further ado, I would jump right in and start the process. So first off, you're gonna have to go to business.facebook.com and log in with a Facebook account or with an Instagram account, preferably a Facebook account. So keep in mind that in order for you to be able to set up a business manager account, you need to have a Facebook account. If you don't have a Facebook account and you cannot log into Facebook account, you just cannot create a business manager account for yourself, right? So you have to log in with your Facebook by going to business.facebook.com, and then once you do that, it's gonna take you to an interface like this. Of course, in your case, it's gonna be completely new, so you're not gonna be seeing any data here, but essentially this is how it's going to look like on your end, and you have to now click on this home under, let's say, business portfolio section. There's this option to create a business portfolio. You're going to click on it, and it's going to ask you to put in some basic details. You can pop those in. Your business portfolio name, you can name it anything that is relevant, your first name, surname, and your business email address, and you can click create. It's going to take you a few really simple steps, and in just a matter of a minute you will be able to create your business portfolio, and you're going to come here in this section. Now there are a few things you can just fiddle with. Of course, there are many things you can just look around later on, but those are not really essential. So the goal of this video is not to kind of familiarize you with everything that's available within this interface. So what you need to know is, once you create your business portfolio, you need to go to the settings and start adding people, adding pages. If you have existing ads account, integrating those accounts. If you don't have one, you can create new ads accounts, etc. Right? So for example, you created your business manager account, your business portfolio, and now you want to add a page associated with your business, right? So within Business Manager, you can manage multiple pages, right? Your clients' accounts, clients' pages. You can access both your Instagram and Facebook pages from within your business manager without you having to go log into those individual platforms and managing things from there. you can access everything from here, and you can also run in a very structured manner. You can manage your campaigns from within your business manager. There's one of the reasons why it's always preferred to first create your business portfolio and give all the access to your business portfolio and manage everything from here, so that everything is really systematic and you have consolidated access to all your data within one system. So now you can go to, for example, to Pages, and if you are the person who owns your Facebook or Instagram page, your Facebook page, you can just hit this add an existing Facebook page, right? It's just going to ask you to put in the link of your Facebook page. Once you do, it will ask you to review the people who have access to this page within your business manager account, right? So it's a really simple process, and you can just click next, and it's not gonna ask for any special approval requests, since you're gonna be owning the business page on Facebook associated with your Facebook account. It's going to allow you to approve it without involving any other steps, right? So that, and the second option is request shared access to a Facebook page. This is when you don't own a business page on Facebook, right? So if you want to manage your client's Facebook account or an account that you don't really have access to, or someone on your team owns that, and you want to have access to that to manage things within Business Manager, you can click on request to Facebook page, right? So you can put in, let's say, the page URL, copy and paste. It's gonna detect it, and you can choose next, and depending on what level of access you want to give, you want to have, you can choose the access level. So let's say admin, confirm, and next, and so on, right? In this case, this page is already connected to this Meta account, so it's not going to edit again, but you can just go ahead and send that request, right? Once you are done setting all these options and confirming, and the person who owns the Facebook account is going to receive an access notification, and the way he can approve that notification is by going to that Facebook page, by logging into his or her Facebook account, and then selecting the page that he owns, and then after he selects the page, and then going to the settings, and then clicking on page setup, and over here you'll have page access, and down there, if there's any pending access request, that person should be able to approve there, and everything will be connected within your Business Manager account. Similarly, if you want to let's say connect your Instagram page, you can just click here, and you can add your Instagram and log into your Instagram and give access, and it's going to be added here. Once you add a page, if you now want to add certain people to that page to have access to that page or manage that, you can select the page, and then over here you have an option to add people, right? So let's say if you don't have anyone already within your Meta account to assign to, right, you can simply send them any invitation by just putting in their email address. So let's say anyone james@gmail.com, and the invitation is going to be sent to that person, and through their Facebook account they will be able to have access to this page. So they will come here within Meta Manager, and they will have access to the page, right? So this is a very basic level of what is needed and what you need to know within Business Manager. Of course, there are other things. So we have partners options, we have system users, we have other options, integrations, payment, and details. But those are things you can really be able to figure out yourself. You just look around a bit. But essentially, these are the few areas that you want to look into into right away whenever you set up your business account. So it includes, setting up your pages and then getting people to those pages, and then you have ads account as well. So if you are doing it the first time, you're gonna be creating a new ads account for you to be able to access business ads manager account, right? Or if you want to have access to someone else's ads account, you can click on ads, and depending on the options that you have, so you have add an existing account, request access to an ad account in another business portfolio, or you can create a new account, so you can go for one of the options, right? So I'm not going to create going through this access process here. For demo purposes, we do have accounts here. We can select and start setting up a new demo campaign. Now let me cover one more important thing, and that's going to be events manager, right? So before you go ahead and set up a campaign, it's really important that you are going to be setting up tracking for that campaign first. If you're not tracking data in a correct and reliable manner, chances are that you will never ever be able to get your campaigns optimized to a level you can by setting up a really robust and reliable tracking system in place. So events manager is really important, where you are able to set up new pixels and set up all those conversions. So this is what you need to look into first before you go ahead and create a new campaign. So in your case, if it's going to be a completely new business manager account, you can click on connect data, and you can click on web and go through the process of setting up a pixel. I'm not going to go through this entire process here, as this is not the scope of this video. If you are interested in how you can set up tracking, I have just recently, a few days ago, created a very detailed video on this, right? So if you go to my channel, you will see Shopify Metapixel plus GDM integration, right? So if you are someone who runs a Shopify store, this video is particularly going to be helpful for you. If you're not running a Shopify store, there will be other videos in my channel that cover, let's say, WooCommerce or any other platform where you can set up the Metapixel, or you can find some other different resources that are available and complete this tracking setup and move over to the campaign setup. We have to make sure that before you run any advertising campaign, everything is tied to your tracking system, all the important events that you want to track on your website. If it's an e-commerce store, all the add to cart events, all the, let's say, product view events, page view events, checkout events, and purchase events are reliably being tracked, and the data is passed over to Facebook for it to use in the optimization process. Now we are going to go to our campaigns. So we're going to be setting up a new campaign within Campaign Manager. So there are basically three levels. We have the campaign level, we have ad sets level, we have ads level. At each level there are some important settings you need to be aware of. So we're gonna hit create new, and at the very top we have an option to choose between auction and reservation. I would say 80% 90% of the times people go for the auction option, where you are participating in ads along with other advertisers, right? So it's more goal driven. As Facebook states, your campaign objective is the business goal you hope to achieve by running your ads. So this is often the default option, but if you want to go for reservations, first of all, it limits the types of campaigns you can run, so you only have the awareness and engagement types of campaigns, not really results driven as far as the aim objectives of a small scale business is concerned. So if it's an e-commerce, you want to drive more sales. If it's a B2B business, you want to drive more conversions and leads, right? So these two objectives don't cater to really the end objective that you have when it comes to running Facebook advertising campaigns. So instead of reservations, you want to go for the auction one, and now we have again different campaign objectives to choose from. You have awareness, traffic, engagement, leads, ad promotion, and sales. Again, I would say 70 to 80% of the times, the three options you want to go for are leads, app promotion, and sales. Apps if you are running advertising campaigns for app downloads, right? But leads if it's a B2B business where you want to generate more leads, and sales if it's an e-commerce business, right? Brand awareness, traffic, engagement are the types of objectives you can go for if your goal is not to drive sales in the short term but drive more engagement and more awareness about your brand, or if you don't have full control over the platform to implement tracking, right? So if, for example, you don't have access to the website or the platform doesn't allow you to put in Facebook's scripts and snippets, then of course, if you're not able to track sales and track those leads, it doesn't make any sense for you to optimize around these, right? In those scenarios, what you would like to do is generate as relevant and low cost traffic as possible, right? So you want to go for one of these three options. But in general, these are the three options you need to stick to for you to be able to optimize the campaign around the end objective that's either leads or app promotion or sales. In this case, we're going to go for sales and hit next. Now it's going to ask us to go through these setup elements, starting with the name. So we can assign a campaign name. Let's say Ecom campaign 1, right? This is just a generic name. Of course, you can come up with something better, more creative, and more relevant in your case. And then you may have, as we have selected buying type to be auction, campaign objective is sales in the previous step. Here, if you have a Facebook e-commerce catalog, you are preferably going to turn this option on. But if you don't have a commerce manager up and running within Facebook, you can turn this off. Just if you're curious where to set up commerce manager, so you can go to all tools and click on commerce manager, and it's going to take you through this step where you will be able to set up a new commerce manager for your website. Essentially, you have to integrate your Shopify store with Facebook's commerce manager through their Facebook Instagram channel within Shopify, right? You can click on add new and go through this entire process, right? So once you set this up, something is going to look like this, where you have the shop option, you have the catalog option, right, where all the products on your website are synced with Facebook's commerce manager, right? But if you don't want to set up a commerce manager for your store and only advertise the products on your website and want to route the traffic over to your website where they can go ahead and go through the purchase process, you can just leave this option turned off and move on. So under budget, we have a campaign budget, we have ad set budget. Preferably you want to keep a campaign budget, right? So set to, let's say, whatever initial budget is. As a rule of thumb, I would say if you're running a small scale campaign, try to keep the budget low as possible, because if you, let's say, run a campaign on a 2,000, 3,000 per day kind of budget initially, you just don't know. You are kind of shooting arrows in the dark. There's no data signals for the system to optimize things around. So your best bet is to always wait a little bit, feed the system some data, get some conversion signals, and gradually and slowly increase this budget. Let's say 10% each day. So let's say if you have a, let's say, 2,000 per day kind of budget in mind, I would suggest you start with, let's say, 200 per day, and then add 10% on top each day, so that let's say over the course of 10 to 15 days, you're going to be close to your normal target budget, and your campaign is also pretty optimized, right? So you're not just wasting those advertising dollars on irrelevant traffic, just clicks, right? But you're also getting some return on ad spend, and the campaign is optimizing towards your end objective of driving more sales to your e-commerce store. So that is important to note. Campaign bid strategy set to highest volume. That's how it should be initially. You don't want to over restrict. You don't want to apply too much filter and restrict the system to do those auto optimizations that usually are in the best interest of the campaign you run within Meta. So keep it highest volume instead of setting a cost per results goal, because initially you don't know what the realistic or actual cost per result should look like, right? So you just don't have data, and it's best if you allow the system to get to that figure and do the initial optimization. Let's say a few months down the road you can switch to a cost per result kind of model, but initially if your campaign is just new, best you stick to the highest volume. For A/B testing, for now we can leave it, and audience segmentation, again, you don't need to worry about this. Right now you don't have any existing customers, you don't have any engaged audiences, so you can just leave it and move on to a special category. And again, if you don't belong to one of these special categories, you can just leave it. But if you are, it's better to choose one of the options, right? So if you're in the housing, you're running some property selling kind of ads, you're gonna have to choose the housing category instead of trying to find loopholes to circumvent the system. It's better to stick to their guidelines and choose the category that belongs, right? Okay, so once you're done with the campaign level settings, you can click on next and proceed with the ad set. So again, give it a name, let's say ecom ad set 1. And for conversions, you have to choose where you want the conversions to happen. So if you're routing the traffic over to your website, it's going to be website, and down here you have an option to either go for maximize number of conversions or maximize value of conversions. You have the goals as well, but these two are important conversion goals. I generally initially prefer going for maximize number of conversions because it allows Facebook system to drive more and more conversions and drive more and more early signals for it to be able to then optimize the campaign around factors like what types of audiences are performing better, what let's say target locations are performing better, the scheduling, the timing of the ads that work best, the types of ads or ad copy that works better, and the types of products on your website that perform better are the kind of signals that Meta looks into to optimize the ads. So this is an efficient way to expedite the learning process initially, but then once you get, let's say, 100 plus conversions from your campaigns, you can just duplicate it and create another campaign and choose, let's say, maximize value of conversions, right? Or you can run two campaigns in parallel, one set to maximize number of conversions and another maximize value of conversions, and see which one performs well. Initially I would suggest, let's say, for at least a few weeks, stick with this one, and after a few weeks, once you have some conversion data, some signals in your Meta account, you can duplicate that campaign and choose maximize conversion value for the campaign. For value rules, right now we can skip that. You can apply some rules. So for example, rules like Insta Facebook feed increased by 15%. So if someone from Facebook Insta feed is seeing your ad, you're willing to pay 15% higher to those types of users, because the likelihood of them converting on your website is high versus someone watching reels or in other news feed or any other placements where people are not very engaged, or they're less likely to buy from your website. So you can apply those rules, but initially you don't worry about these advanced level optimization settings, and you can go on to budget and scheduling. Here if you have a set timeline in mind, so for example, if you're running some events that are timeline specific, you can set a start and end date. But if it's an ongoing thing, you don't want to schedule it and set an end date, because once your campaign ends, you will not be able to edit this end date and continue with that campaign. So if you want to pause any campaign at any time, you can pause it at an ad set level manually or at a campaign level. You don't need to enable that here. Okay, now so for the audience, you don't need to use a saved audience, right? You don't have any saved audience per se. The advertising campaign is new, so you might not be having lots of users on your website for retargeting, right? So you might not have much data around users to create saved audiences, so you can just leave it and go to controls and then locations, and here you can choose the locations that you want to target, right? So you can go granular into, let's say, state level locations, right? Or you can just choose the entire, let's say, region or country, right? Depending on what makes sense to you. It's better, so let's say if the entire country is relevant to your product or your service, or you're able to, let's say, serve the entire country. Sometimes you might feel, okay, certain locations or certain cities within a country might be more valid or more potential as far as the conversion rate, the qualification criteria, etc. are concerned. So why not just choose a few, let's say, cities instead of choosing the entire country? That generally is not a good strategy, because Facebook is doing that heavy lifting on your behalf anyway, right? So what it does is based on actual data, actual signals, it's going to target people from specific locations within your entire, let's say, geo-target area, and narrow the targeting down to the specific cities, suburbs, or provinces that are going to perform well, right? But at the same time, it also takes into account the factor that certain types of people would be more ripe for conversions across those other locations that you want to skip, right? So although the primary target as far as Meta's own targeting system is concerned, if the conversion signals validate that it's going to target those locations, but if in some cases, based on individual buying journey, if Meta figures out that these individuals from these certain locations are more ready to convert into customers, they're ready to buy this particular product, because it takes a holistic look at their entire buying journey beyond your advertising campaign data. So your competitors might be running ads, right? Google's Pixel is installed on websites where people are coming, interacting with product services, right? So it has a much closer and much more realistic insights into how ready they are to buy that product or service So that's why it makes all the more sense, if there are no obvious hard boundaries as to why you shouldn't include certain cities. It's recommended to target the entire country if it makes sense, right? Okay, now placements. Again, at the very beginning, it's always recommended to go for Advantage Plus on, because that way Meta is going to be able to test out as to what specific placements, platforms, and what combinations of ads and creatives are going to perform better for you, instead of you doing the testing yourself, one by one, right? So you're allowing the system to do it on your behalf. So initially, Advantage Plus on is what's recommended, but if you want to manually edit those options, you can always do that. Placement control, again, you have an option to control placements within a platform as well. So let's say within Facebook and Instagram, you have different placement options. You have feed, stories, status, reels. You have in-stream ads for reels, search results. You have, let's say, marketing messages, apps, and sites. So again, you can choose the platform, and then within platform, what type of placements you think are going to be more relevant for you, right? If you want to manually control, you can do that, but doing so will definitely turn this Advantage Plus option off. So you can do that, but I wouldn't recommend you do that initially, right? Just let the system optimize everything for you. If you feel that let's say the initial results after a week or so are not working out really well for you, then you can just go in and start manually optimizing everything based on how you think should be in your case. So if you think these Facebook Marketplace or Facebook right column ads are not really good options for you, or if you want to zero in on specific types of placements like Facebook feeds or Instagram feeds, you can always do that. But initially, it's recommended that you just keep them turned on so that the Advantage Plus feature really works to your advantage. Again, there are options in here. You have skippable ads, you have some of the guidelines around inventory filters, you have audience network ads, right? So if you want to expand, let's say, the inventory, which is the default, right? If you don't want some sensitive types of contents to be excluded, right? People watching these types of content shouldn't see your ad. If that's your preference, you can do that, but by default this is selected, and which what is recommended. Publisher block and content type exclusion, you can look into those, but they aren't really make or break kind of scenarios, so you can just skip those and you can move on to next, and you're gonna start creating an ad now, right? So you can give it a name, let's say ad 1, and you can keep this turned off, not really necessary. For the page, it's gonna be Facebook and Instagram page, and these are the two primary platforms within Meta you want to run the ads on. And for branding, and you can skip this, or you can just add your logo and font and other things that you think are more relevant to your brand, your brand colors, etc. For you to use it in the future as well, you can set that up. And for the ad setup, again, you have an option to use existing posts, right, or use Creative Hub mockup, or create a new ad, right? Preferably you want to create a new ad instead of using any existing posts, or go to Creative Hub mockup. So create a new ad. You have manual option, and you have Advantage Plus catalog ads, right? So you can go for the manual one. If you go for the manual one, you have option to choose, let's say, single image or video image carousel collection. But if it's an e-commerce, it's recommended to go for Advantage Plus catalog, right? Where if you are Commerce Manager is enabled, is set up, and your catalogs are live and connected to Facebook, it's going to work well for you, because it's now able to create those titles and descriptions and other ad assets around the specific products that you have on the website, and really customize things for users who are looking to buy those products. So go for Advantage Plus Catalog Edge, but if you don't have the Meta Commerce Manager integrated with your store, of course you can go for manual upload, right? And again, here you have an option to go for a carousel or single image once you choose this one. And as you see, if you go for carousel ads, it's going to show you on the right side at preview, right? This is how your ad is going to look like. All the product images are being fetched from your website or from your Commerce Manager catalog, and the titles are being populated, and you have a call to action shop now button, right? So you can go for that, and then for destination you can choose default destination, and you can put in your website URL as end of cart, so when someone gets to the end of this cart they should be able to see and click on this URL to go to your website and browse the products from there. There's no need for browser add-ons for now, no Instagram Direct, WhatsApp, or any of the kinds of add-ons required at the moment. You can just fiddle with them later on, but at this stage, just to keep things minimalistic and super relevant to what should be part of your initial campaign. You don't want to add unnecessary complexity into the process, so you can skip those and use shop to personalize buyer journey. Of course you want to do that. Once you turn this option on, use shop to personalize your buyer journey. What Facebook does is, if it thinks that people on Facebook or Instagram shop are going to be more likely to engage and buy the product directly from that platform, instead of searching it, going over to your website and initiating the buying journey from there, it's gonna just stick to its own shop, and the customer sees your product, adds your product to cart on Facebook, and completes the buying process. But when Facebook sees that a user should be sent to your website, it does that. This option allows it exactly to do that, and which is in the best interest of your campaign. Okay, add resources. Okay, add resources. Now you have an option to choose the catalog, right? So if your Commerce Manager is integrated with your website, you're going to be seeing an option to choose that, right? So you can choose the catalog from here, and then for the product set you can choose the types of collections that you have on your website. So on this website, for example, we have these collections, right? We have shop for little boys, little girls, and we have shoes, clothes, and accessories, new arrivals, shop ties. All of these collections are being populated. They are being fetched by the Meta system, and you're able to see them as product sets in here, right? So you can choose any of the collections. You can either go for all products, or you can choose specific collections. If you want to, let's say, focus on certain types of products, you can just create a new collection on your website and add the types of products that you want to advertise within those within that collection, and then come to your ad set and choose that specific collection. So Facebook only focuses on those products that you have within that collection. Now for ad creatives, you have option to go for single image or slideshow, right? If you go for a single image, you seeing that the carousel option that we chose above is only going to show a single image on each card. But on the other hand, if you go for a slideshow, it is, it's a looping video for each card using multiple images for item, right? So it's going to put different cards together and create a looping video out of it and show that to the end user. Now for headline, again, you can create a dynamic headline. You have many options to choose. You have, let's say, name, brand, retailer ID, description, price, and other options, right? Depending on what you want to include in the headline. In most cases, just the headline of the product, right? Just the name of the product is going to be sufficient. If you have those product titles optimized on your website, right? If the product titles are not optimized, it's not a good idea to choose this option, because then the types of ad headline the end users will see are going to be really unoptimized and clunky and irrelevant, which you want to avoid by any means. So make sure that if you are choosing product name as the dynamic headline, you have to optimize all the headlines on your website. By the same token, if you are choosing primary text as, let's say, product description, which you can do, you have to make sure that the description of the products that you have on your website are well optimized, because when the user clicks the ad and sees, let's say, the description, which isn't really relevant to what the needs and requirements and preferences of the customers are, it's not going to work well. So make sure that the product descriptions are also optimized, right? If you don't want to go for a dynamic product title and product description, you can put in your own manually entered meta title and meta description if you want to have more control over how you want your ad descriptions and ad headlines to look like. You can go for the manual one, but otherwise you have the dynamic option as well. In most cases, if it's an e-commerce, of course you want to optimize every title and description according to the specific product, right? So you don't want a boilerplate kind of headline and description, and it's going to be quite work if you start creating new titles and descriptions and new ads focusing on each product and each even collection. It's going to be a hell of a lot amount of work. On the other hand, you can just go for a dynamic, let's say, description or headline, and save yourself a lot of work on the copy or ad creation side. But of course, you have to make sure that the title and descriptions on your website are well optimized. Okay, so for call to action, you can go for shop now. Of course, it's e-commerce and you want the user to shop instead of getting code. Listen now, order now, or shop now. Could be two relevant call to actions you can choose. Okay, Advantage plus Creative, it's going to allow Facebook to optimize the creatives that you're using for different placements and platforms. If you click on edit, for example, you see if you turn this expand image on, it's going to expand your image to fit the image in if it's being shown, let's say, in reels, right? So if you have a square image now, Facebook is going to be needing a landscape image or a vertical image. It's going to expand that image, right? So it's going to allow that. And if you allow to add relevant music as well, it does that. And if you allow Facebook to add backgrounds, it can add those nice backgrounds and really make the image pop, right? So you see, it really stands out. If you see this image on the website, it comes with certain backgrounds that are not really compatible with the image. So you can try turning these options on. Similarly, you have adapt to placements, dynamic description, add product tags, etc. So you can turn all of these, you can view and turn all of these options on. If your product has certain level of sensitivity to any of these options, of course you can always manually turn some of the options off. But if you are okay with how Meta is optimizing these different options for your product, if there are no other restrictions or limitations or reservations that you have, you can just let these different options turn on. Great. So for the language, at the beginning I wouldn't suggest adding a lot of different languages and really complicating this entire setup. You can just stick to the primary language that your target audience knows, right? So don't need to turn this on. And for tracking, we really touched on this at the beginning. You have to have a pixel installed on your website, a tracking set up. So once you are done with that tracking setup, it's gonna allow you to choose the option, and it's going to auto select this because in the previous steps we selected website events as the goal, so it's auto selecting that and selecting the pixel for us. In your case, if you are setting it up the first time, you will have an option to choose the pixel and move on. Now for tracking parameters, it's not really essential, you can just leave it, but it just, if you're curious as to what this is, you are basically passing that important information over to a tool like analytics, where you're able to tell what the source of the traffic is, right? So let's say campaign source, campaign medium, campaign name, campaign content, you can put in that information to allow either your CRM system or your analytics like Google Analytics 4 to know that okay, this user came from this campaign source, let's say ecom campaign 1, and the campaign medium was you can put in, let's say, any dynamic value from the given options. So you have campaign name. For the campaign source, you can put in either one of these dynamic values, campaign name, or let's say meta. For the campaign medium, you can put in, let's say, campaign ID, or you can put in any static value like ecom campaign 1, right? You can choose that. And for the campaign name, let's see if we have campaign name option in here. And for the content, you can choose let's say ad name, right? You can add some more parameters, and once you do that, this is what your parameter looks like. Your CRM is going to be able to track the source of this traffic. Now they're able to tell, okay, the source is Meta, the medium is whatsoever the dynamic value, and depending on where the user came from as far as the placement is concerned. So if it was Facebook, let's say feed section, Facebook is going to put in, let's say, Facebook feed, or Instagram feed, Instagram reel, etc. Similarly, UTM campaign is going to be the campaign name, etc. Right, so this data will be available within Shopify or your Google Analytics, or any CRM system you're using like HubSpot or Salesforce, etc. It's for that. If you want to skip it, you can skip it. It's not really essential. But if you want to track it this out, you can build UTM parameters and pass those values over to the different tools that you're using. If you have any promo codes you are running on your store, so you have discount codes, etc., you can put those in here and you can hit publish. So once you hit the publish, it's gonna take some time reviewing your ad. If there are no issues with the ads, right, your campaign is going to start running. Of course, you have to include those billing and payment methods as well. Verify your payment method and have functional, let's say, billing payment system in place for the ads to run. So once you are done with this process, you're going to start running the ads and monitoring the performance and gradually optimizing them. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any specific comments about something that I covered in this video, or maybe I missed out on something, because it's quite a lot of material to cover at every step of the process as you see here, so I just cannot be too extensive and too detailed covering each and everything. But if something was important to you and you couldn't really understand from what I have covered, feel free to put your comments in the comment section, or if you want me to cover certain sections in more detail in some future videos, feel free to provide those recommendations as well, and I will work on those. Thank you so much for your time, and I will see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Bye.